One of my favourite stories about Jesus takes place on a beach, a little bit like this one. And it's a story about a party, or a barbie to be specific. And it's vivid and evocative. You can almost smell the freshly baked bread and the fish cooking on the coals. But this isn't a normal outing. You don't usually meet up with the dead unless you're planning a séance or something like that. Not to be recommended. He shouldn't be here, but here he is, and very much alive, eating, drinking, thinking, speaking, talking to his friends. It's an extraordinary story. Listen into it, as told by one of his friends.
Early the next morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the followers did not know it was Jesus. Then he said to them, "Friends, have you caught any fish?" They answered, "No." He said, "Throw your net into the water on the right side of your boat. You will find some fish there." So they did this. They caught so many fish that they could not pull the net back into the boat. The follower Jesus loved very much said to Peter, "That man is the Lord." When Peter heard him say it was the Lord, he wrapped his coat around himself. He had taken his clothes off to work. Then he jumped into the water. The other followers went to shore in the boat. They pulled the net full of fish. They were not very far from shore, only about 100 yards. When they stepped out of the boat and onto the shore, they saw a fire of hot coals. There were fish on the fire and some bread there too. Then Jesus said, "Bring some of the fish that you caught." Simon Peter got into the boat and pulled the net to shore. It was full of big fish, 153 of them. But even with that many fish, the net did not tear. Jesus said to them, "Come and eat." None of the followers would ask him, "Who are you?" They knew he was the Lord. Jesus walked over to get the bread and gave it to them. He also gave them the fish.
I love that phrase, "that man is the Lord." Somehow Jesus wasn't quite as they'd once known him. Something has changed. Still him for sure, but different. Put that alongside what they've seen happen to him, dying on the cross, having been beaten and whipped. And this whole episode sounds, well, unusual, to say the least. But I love the thought of Jesus reconnecting with friends who thought the whole thing had ended horribly with his death and everything had come crashing down. It's as though he's saying something about our own hopes, dashed and crushed as they sometimes are. We too might feel hopeless. But the story doesn't end with abject failure. The story ends with an invitation. Come and eat. Now, he didn't just mean the fish and the bread on offer. The risen Jesus was offering something better and long-lasting. Life itself. And for me, that's why Easter remains the high point of the year. It's a celebration that God has shown us life really is stronger than death, and hope can triumph over despair. Whatever you face this year, it doesn't have to be the end, a defining moment. Jesus is alive to bring you hope and a good future. So no matter what you face this year, this can be the beginning of a new story. I'm inviting you to know him and to hear more at your local church. And Jesus is inviting you to take the next step with him and to a life marked with hope and goodness. Do have a most blessed Easter.